friends, hope all is well. Thank you for joining me. I am really excited you're here today. My name is April for those of you that are new, and I own a small crochet business called The Cozy Buckeye. I have been doing markets for 12 years now, and I've been on Etsy selling my items for 10 years. So it's my anniversary year. I've been on YouTube now for, I think I started vlogging like 4 months ago. I did a few videos, tutorials before the vlogs, but then I quickly realized that vlogging was a lot more fun than the tutorials, and you guys like them a lot more, so that's what I've been doing. Since I have been on here, I had put out a question in my YouTube community for you guys to send me some questions to get to know me, a Q&A. I've gotten so many questions and I am just blown away. I'm gonna try to do my best to get through these as quickly as possible. And then later, when my husband gets home, I thought maybe he could help me answer a couple of these questions because I just think it would be fun and I would like you guys to meet him. So I've kind of broken them down into a few categories. I've got some business questions, Etsy questions, just random questions, and some personal questions. The first question I'll answer is, how did your crochet journey begin? I would say, first off, my awesome mom taught me how to crochet when I was 8 years old. I didn't crochet a lot of finished items back then. I'm pretty sure I crocheted like 3 miles of chain stitches in the very beginning, and I would crochet scarves and stuff like that, but throughout the years I would make blankets and different things. So that was how it all started. The next question is, how did my crochet business get started? Funny story. I used to work in finance. I met my husband when I was 27. I had my daughter when I was 28. And shortly after I went back to work after having my daughter, I was laid off for the third time, because in the mortgage business, it's hit and miss. And when I got laid off, that was in 2006 was when I got laid off. So that was kind of when the housing market kind of crashed. And, I was like, wow. At first I was like, it really sucked. And then I decided that I'll make the best of it and spend this time I can with my baby. I did some odd jobs. I think I babysat, and I also worked for a friend who owns a hair salon. She wanted me to, answer phones and clean the salon and stuff like that, just to kind of have something to do and make some money. While I was laid off, I got pregnant with my son, and shortly after he was born, my life just got turned upside down quickly. When he was 4 months old, my husband's ex-wife passed away. So I went from being 27, no kids, to being 30, having 5 children. And of course, my husband and I decided that the best thing for me to do was just to stay at home with everybody, because it's really hard with 5 kids to have both parents working. My hobbies came out, my crocheting, my sewing, all the things. I think my sister-in-law taught me to sew purses. I think she had a purse design that she was sewing, and I started making it. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sell these at craft shows. Well, I happened to take a couple beanies or something that I had made. Well, the purses didn't sell, but the hats did. So that's kind of how it started, as far as me selling hats and trying to sell items. And to be honest, the reason why I started selling in the first place was because I didn't have the money to buy more supplies. So I would make things in order to try to just buy stuff, because I didn't have, we were on a very tight budget. So I was basically selling things to support my habit. And also, one year, I made a slouchy hat. I think that was the first thing that I ever sold, and it was from a pattern I got from the library. And then I also one year made my son it was like a, you know, an ear flap beanie with braids, because I had a pattern that I got out of a book. And he was 4 years old, you guys, 4 years old, and it was a green hat, and he said, "Mommy, can you put a face on it?" And I was like, I mean, I didn't really know how to do shapes and different things like that, but you know, he was so cute. I had to oblige. So he was really big into Angry Birds at the time, so I decided to make him the Angry Pig hat because the hat was already green. And then of course my daughter, who's 18 months older, was like, "Well, I want one too." So I asked her what she wanted, and she wanted a kitty. So I saw a Hello Kitty toy laying on the floor, and I'm like, "Oh, how about a Hello Kitty?" Her favorite color was turquoise. I made this Hello Kitty hat, and I will show you guys some pictures of the first couple hats I made. Everywhere we went, the doctor's office, the library, dance, anywhere we went, I was getting orders. People were asking me, "Can you make this? Can you make that? Can you make this?" And I just started designing the faces just like that, just by looking at a picture and creating the shapes, and then I'd sew them together. And at the time I was selling all these things for like $25 a piece. And then I started doing craft shows and selling just anything I could make. I would do monsters and just anything. Back then I think I started with the owls, Scooby, I don't know, there's so many. The first craft show I think I sold the hats at, I might have made a couple $100, and I was just blown away that, wow, you know, and I'm able to sell these things. And so I'd immediately go buy more yarn, and then I would dump all the money back into yarn and then make more hats and then sell them, and it just kind of grew and grew. And to be honest, in the very beginning, my husband lost his job, and we didn't even have money to buy Christmas one year. I mean, it was rough there when that happened. He had worked at a company for 20 years, and after his ex-wife died, we were under a lot of stress with our situation and everything, and he ended up getting a heart condition. And he said that day, "I guarantee when I go back into work and I tell them I give it a year, and they'll probably find a way to fire me." And they did. They fired him over something really stupid. And I mean, we didn't make any money for a while, and so it was really tight, really tough. So I really started trying to sell a lot more just to buy Christmas and just to fill in the gaps. It just kind of grew from there. And after 2 years of doing markets, everybody kept asking me, "Are you online? Are you online? Do you sell online?" And I was like, no. And I put my stuff on Etsy. And I think I was on there for probably 3 months before I even got a sale. And the first time I got a sale, I was blown away. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I sold online." That's basically how it started, you guys. Next question, do you have a license of some sort to sell your makes and have a business? So I applied for a transient vendor's license in my state of Ohio, and that covers me at all the craft shows. I pay sales tax monthly for anything I sell, so that's how that works. Do you also pay a lot of taxes for the business? I don't feel like we've ever had like a big issue with taxes, to be honest. I mean, my husband has a decent job, and I file my own taxes, you guys. I use the TurboTax small business disc. I buy that every year. It walks me step by step. I claim my office space, and you know, I save all my receipts for yarn and all my canceled checks for my craft shows, and you can file your mileage, and I mean, there's so many things that you can do, but that disc is so helpful. It is literally step by step, and so far, based on the taxes they take out of my husband's paycheck, which is a lot, and then we've had 2 kids, so we've gotten the child tax credit for a while. We've never had to pay. I've always gotten money back at the end of the year, so I don't know if that helps you. Now, I wasn't able to use Abby as I didn't get the child tax credit for her last year, so I only have 1 kid left, and I still got money back. Wasn't a lot, but so next year, so Jaden turns 17 this year, so next year I won't have any kids to be able to claim that child tax credit, so I may have to pay next year. We'll see. Probably with making a little more money, so we'll see. But I don't feel like paying taxes should deter you, because we have always done better financially by me selling my stuff. It has always helped us. If for some reason he's not making as much in a week, then we can dip into my income, but it's always just kind of been an extra income for us, because we did, like I said, he works really hard, but his income pretty much covers everything. Mine's just extra. So I'm very fortunate that he has a really good job, but my man works really hard, you guys. He is a truck driver, and he works 70 hours a week, and he has a very physical job. It is not for the faint of heart. It has almost ruined his body because it's so hard. So, anyway, I am very blessed that he has worked so hard to take care of us. All right, well, the next question, I'm only on question 4, you guys, 5 maybe. I'm gonna have to hurry it up. This video is gonna be so long. How do you know when to get insurance? So, a lot of times when you apply for festivals, they give you all their stipulations. Like, most of the festivals are going to be juried shows where you have to send an application and pictures of your booth and your stuff you're selling. But anyway, when they send your approval, they will tell you what is required. And I do a few festivals where I have to provide insurance. That's it. I think I've mentioned in another video. It might be ACT. I'm kind of forgetting a little bit, but I'll put it right here on the screen. I have to look it up. That's basically it. Is having a YouTube channel profitable? Well, it is a lot of work, you guys, in the beginning, and I'm still not making that much from YouTube. I have, like I said, I've been vlogging now for 4 months, and I have been paid 2 of those months. I think the first month was just a partial month, but the second month was a full month, and it was $300, you guys. $305. I'm hoping it grows, but I really think that with YouTube, especially if you have a business, YouTube is kind of a platform to promote yourself, to send business to your Etsy or to, other avenues, whether you're doing affiliates or whatever. YouTube is just kind of part of it. But I feel like it can be profitable, and I'm very excited to see where that leads me in the future. Have I received negative comments on YouTube, social media, etc., and how do I deal with it? I have not received a ton. I think I received 1, and I just deleted it. I don't even remember what it said, so now I guess it doesn't bother me. Now, if I got bullied, it would probably bother me, but I'm gonna try really hard for that not to happen. I really don't like confrontation. I don't like debating with people, so you'll probably never get that from me. If you post something and you're wanting something like that out of me, you're not gonna get it. So I don't deal with that. What is the best way to get started in a crochet business? I would say to do markets first. That's absolutely the best way. That's how I started, by doing markets. I feel like you have to get out there and sell your stuff and see what's popular. Also Etsy, I do recommend Etsy. Maybe you can't get to markets. Etsy is a good place to start as well. That's what I would recommend. What do you use to film your videos and take pictures of your products? I have a Sony ZV-1 that I purchased at the beginning of the year as kind of, it was just kind of my treat to myself to start YouTube. I every year with my business over the last 12 years, I try to invest in one big thing every year with the money I'm making, whether it's a computer, I don't know, just something. I try to invest it because it ends up being a tax write-off if you're using it for your business. So that helps your taxes, you guys. So you have to reinvest into your business. I also have an iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I use that for pictures. Honestly, any of the cell phones probably have better cameras than the majority of your other cameras. I used to have, or I still have, a Canon Rebel. That's the first camera I bought and took pictures with, but honestly my iPhone takes better pictures now than that does. So how do I keep track of what inventory you have versus what you need to make? How do I set inventory goals? I believe this question was from Stacy at Stacy Makes. This is a great question. I mean, the funny thing is, when it comes to inventory, it's like the bane of my existence, right? My mom stays on me about inventory. She would always be like, come on, we gotta take inventory. And I don't know why. It's just, it annoys me. I'm being real honest with you guys. I just like to make stuff, right? As a creator, it's just fun to make, but then you have to like do the business stuff. It's kind of, some of that stuff is annoying, and this is one for me. So I do keep lists of everything we have in inventory. We do check the inventory after we do big shows. We'll go through and see what we have, you know. I know over the years like what items typically sell, so I always try to set goals to have, you know, at least 5 to 10 of each of my big sellers. It's a big goal because there's a lot of hats that really sell well, but that is what I do. So that's, you know, that's why she makes all these hats, and then I'm constantly trying to get them finished, is because of those goals we have. Do I use a spreadsheet on the computer? I've tried that, you guys. I'd rather have it on paper. I know it makes me sound old, but I just keep it in a notebook right here. Strive for progress, it says, but and I have them year after year, like we literally write them down. And this is what we have, and we'll check them off. Actually need to update my inventory now that you mention it. So I know it's not the best answer, but that's what we do. All right. What was the first pattern I wrote? That was my Sleepy Owl hat. Actually, I guess it was, I take that back. I guess it was my Angry Pig. That was the first. When my kids were younger, were you running your crochet business? If so, how did you find the time? All right, guys. Well, thankfully, my kids slept through the night. I'm very blessed for that, but I would stay up late, probably too late. And I'm kind of a night owl. I've always liked the evenings. but especially in my situation that I was in with 5 kids. 3 were stepchildren who were grieving, and it was tough, you guys. I had 2 babies in diapers, and I was thrown into diapers, which I asked for that. Like, I asked for the babies. I wanted them. And of course, I took on with grace parenting my stepdaughters full time. My husband works 70 hours a week, so the majority of the parenting was on me. And it was a lot. So my getaway would be after everybody was in bed, and I would stay up late crocheting, sewing, scrapbooking, anything, just to have the peace and quiet, because I never got it in the day. So I barely slept. I would stay up until probably 2:33 a.m. My husband would be getting up for work, and here I'm like, oh, I gotta go to bed. He's leaving for work. And then I would get up in the morning with my kids at 8 o'clock. So that's how I did it. And what type of plushies did you start with at the beginning of your business? In the beginning, I did not make plushies. I made hats. I think I made 1 plushie for a custom order years ago, and I'll pop a picture right here. It's actually really good. I look back at it and I'm like, wow. But at the time, nobody was making the plush and amigurumi. It was made in worsted weight yarn, and it took forever. And I was like, there's no way I can make money making these. There's no way. So I gave up on it for a while. But I recently, my daughter's 18 now, so when she was 15, I decided to start making plushies again. I actually started doing the amigurumi with the Peek-a-Pow books, but then I fell in love all over again. So that was 3 years ago when I really started doing amigurumi again. Alright, well, I think those are all the business questions. What about, okay, so I have some Etsy questions. My thoughts on Etsy. Etsy's been a good platform for me. You know, there's a lot of traffic that goes there anyway. If you are not, in the beginning I was not big on social media. I was not marketing myself. I feel like Etsy's a good thing. You know, when you go to markets, you have to pay market fees. When you sell anywhere, like when I did Kings Island, I did a Winterfest there 3 years in a row. They made me pay 10%. So anything I sold, I had to give them 10%. There's always going to be fees when you sell your items. I mean, whether it's market fees or Etsy fees or whatever, there's fees to pay. I mean, that's just how it is. So that's just part of the business. Do I use Etsy ads to promote my listings? I have never paid for ads myself. However, Etsy puts my stuff on Google, and I do have to pay fees. They have fees, like if you fit into a certain category, if you make so many sales or you sell so much per year, you're automatically put into that category, and they force you to pay those fees. There you have that. Do you ever do custom orders? Custom orders is how my business started. It's still a big part of my business. And I've learned over the years, if I get a custom order request, I automatically jack the price up at least $25 more because I'm going to have to write a pattern, you guys. Now, it's really easy for me, but it still takes more time. So I automatically increase the fee. And depending on the hat, like I've kind of learned based on what they want, how much to charge. So, but anything that's custom is always going to be a lot higher for me. I have to cover that extra cost. What did it take for you to decide you were going to make crocheting your full-time job? Well, for one, I love it. And it's something I'm good at. And I was able to sell stuff. So whenever I went to that first show and I didn't sell the sewn purses, but I sold the hats, that's basically what did it for me. And again, I absolutely love it. So it makes it really easy when you love something to make it a business, right? Do you sell more at markets or on Etsy? Well, the funny thing is I sell certain things at markets that I don't sell on Etsy, and vice versa. Like the capes, they sell a lot more on Etsy. A lot of the hats that sell at markets, like for example, Elsa, my Frozen princess hat, I never sell that online. And I sell a ton of those at markets. My Pom Pom Minnie Mouse hat that I make, I don't sell those online. I sell those a ton at markets. It's just interesting. So it does me very well to do both, because I'm able to sell more, because some things sell on Etsy that don't sell at markets. So any general tips or advice for someone wanting to go full-time but is on the fence? What's stopping you? That's what I would ask. Why are you hesitant? I mean, if you love it and you enjoy making it, I mean, you can at least try. Because when I started, I didn't know things were going to get to where they are now. I just did it because I enjoyed it. I loved making the stuff, and when I did markets, I loved seeing the excitement that it brought to people. So, I mean, if you enjoy it, then I think that's your answer. You should definitely just try. There's no harm in trying. And to do a small market, you really don't need to put in a lot of money. Now, if you're going to do outdoor festivals and stuff, you're going to have to invest in a tent and tables and invest in a setup. But you could start small. That would be my advice, to start small at like your local churches, just to see if you like it. Or if you're making things, pop your stuff on Etsy, you guys. It's not very expensive to start an Etsy shop at all. There's very little like cost involved to start an Etsy shop. So I would try those. I would not be afraid. If you love what you're doing, then go for it. Do I prefer selling at markets or on Etsy? I have always preferred markets. Definitely. To be honest, if you're not very technically savvy, markets are the way to go. But if you are able to create listings and stuff, then try Etsy. I actually like doing them both. So, but I do prefer markets only because I am an extrovert and I like people. So, do you have any tips on taking pictures of plushies to use when adding a listing to your store? I did a little clip in a video in one of my vlogs of how I took pictures. I think you just need really good lighting, really good indirect lighting, and either by a window or you can go outside. You can get a backdrop, whether it's I really like the backdrops. You can buy them online. They're like vinyl. I think I got mine on Etsy. And that's basically it. Just have really good light. What steps did you take to start your crochet business? I did read a book. I was looking it up trying to figure out what it is though, you guys. There's so many books out now, but it was a book back in 2013, I believe, of how to start an Etsy business. And I cannot find, I got it from the library. I cannot find it online. I was gonna talk about that, but there's so many books out there. That's how I did it. But honestly, now there's so many videos on YouTube. Just get on there and start typing, like your profile, get all that stuff done, take some pictures, create a listing. Just do one listing. Once you do one listing, then you basically can copy and paste the majority of the description. It doesn't take that long once you get the first listing done at all, but just kind of filling in the bubbles on Etsy. Just take the time to do that. All right, so random questions. What should you crochet for your first market? Whatever makes you happy. What do you like to crochet? I will say that if you're liking the plushies, then anything that's under $20 is the way to go. It's good to have a few big pieces there, but the 20 and under, they sell pretty quickly, so I would start with all of those items, whether it be the octos for $5 or anything that's $12, $15, under $20. And as far as the hats go, the Minnie Mouse hat sells really well, the owl hat sells really well. I sell my hats in sizes to fit 6 months to 2. Those sell the best, as well as the sizes for like 4 to 8 and adults. I mean, the baby sizes for me, just depending on where I'm at, they don't sell the best. It's mostly small, medium, and large. Those sizes sell the best for me. So, where do you get your inspiration from when you design your patterns? I don't know. It just, a lot of times it's, when I was a kid, I liked to draw a lot. I loved cartoons, and I love to draw cartoons. So I love looking at cartoon photos. I love I can look at a picture of a cartoon and create a hat. So that's kind of what gives me my inspiration. A lot of times I get a lot of custom orders, so that is my inspiration. I don't know. I just like to design, and I hope to be able to do more of that in the future. As a new plushie maker, how do I know if my work is good enough to sell? What do people say about it? What does it look like? Are you proud of it? I would say if you're proud of it, then other people are going to like it. Ask what everyone thinks. Do you have kids? Ask the kids if they like it. That's the thing. If a kid thinks it's cute, that's all that matters. What are my favorite yarns for plushies? Well, I think I've talked about, I have a lot of Bernat yarn, you guys. I like Bernat because it makes my plushies big, and consumers they'll pay more for bigger items. I really like the way Premier Parfait Chunky feels, but I don't love how small it is. Recently I bought some yarn from Joanne. I think it's the plush, Big Twist plush. I really like that yarn. It's really thick. I don't know. I don't like the old Bernat that's stiff. It hurts my hands. But anything soft to work with is my favorite. So I can't really say that I have a preference at this time. I don't know. I like the differences in all of them, but I do work with Burnett mostly. Are there places that might want less than perfect plushies that I can donate to? Hospitals, nursing homes, daycares, churches. That is an excellent question. What are your favorite modifications to your Mama Made Minis Lovies? I don't really have a lot of modifications other than just the spikes that I put on the dino. Instead of like actually crocheting parts and sewing it on, I do triple bobbles. That's what I do. So I have a few questions that I want my husband to answer, but I'm going to skip over those, and I'm hoping later tonight I'll pop back on here to have him answer. How many kids do you have and how old are they? So we have 5. The youngest is 16, then we have Abby who's 18, and then we have Becca who just turned 28. And then we have Jessie who's 31 and Samantha who's 35. Crazy, I know. I know. We'll let my husband talk more on that later. Do I have any other hobbies? I have so many hobbies, you guys. I am a crafter, so I like to sew, I like to scrapbook, I like to make jewelry. I have so much crafting stuff. A lot of it is in my basement because I just don't do it anymore and I won't get rid of it. Like, I have totes of fabric that I will keep, but I also like plants. I have a ton of house plants that I love Hoyas the best. Those are my favorite. But I have a ton of plants. At one time I had way more during COVID. Pretty sure the majority of us bought too many plants during COVID. I don't know what happened. But a lot of them died. Only the strong survived. I like succulents. I like Hoyas. I like philodendrons. I don't know. Anything that grows fairly easily I like. What is my favorite flower and why? I've got a couple. My stepdaughter used to always buy me Gerber daisies, and I really like those. My mom and my grandma really like irises, so I kind of like those too. But I really like echinacea, the coneflower. I have a lot of those in my flower beds outside. How many pets do I have? I currently have 3. I have a dog who is 12 years old. She was brought by Santa. She was the cutest little thing. Her mom was a Bichon Poodle mix and her dad was a Yorkie. She's so sweet. I love her so much. I have a Maine Coon who's 14, and I have I don't know what he is. He was a rescue. His name's Max, and I think he's got to be like 10. But love my furries. I'm definitely obsessed with pets. I love them so much. How do you balance your time between your business, family, housework, yard work, animals, kids, errands, appointments, self-care, and all the mom things? That's a great question. One, I think if I knew the answer to, I'd probably be a millionaire, I would imagine. My husband and I were talking about this because I read this to him. And we both agree there is no balance. There's never balance. I wish there was. I wish I could answer that in a better way, but you just have to prioritize what's most important each day. And there's going to be days where your housework does not get done. There's dishes in my sink, you guys. I need to go do those. But last night, I wasn't doing dishes because I was doing a pattern test for someone. And, you know, sometimes my business takes a back seat to kids and errands and appointments. the self-care. Crochet is my self-care, you guys. Let's face it. That is my self-care. Crocheting has always given me what I needed to be calm. Although I do need to exercise more. There's never enough hours in the day. I say that all the time. So you just have to prioritize what's most important each day. Have a calendar. Pencil yourself in when you need to. But I feel like as a mom, we don't get much time to just relax. There's always so much to do. Even if you didn't have a business, being a mom's a hard job. It's the hardest. It's the most rewarding. It's, what is it I was saying? It is the most thankless job you'll ever have, but somehow it's the most rewarding. I don't know. Let me know if you know the answer to that question. I would love to know. How did I learn to read patterns? Well, actually that's funny that you asked that, because I didn't know how to read patterns. And when I was laid off and had all 5 kids at home, I started going to the library a lot because I was bored. Because, you know, I worked in the mortgage business where I processed and closed loans. And that is a high stress job, you guys. I would close like 30 loans in a month. It was crazy. But, so I went from that to being surrounded by children, and I was kind of bored. So I started taking the kids to the library and getting them into reading and books, and then I was always into craft books or how-to books, cookbooks, stuff like that. And I decided one year that I was going to learn to read a pattern, and I used YouTube, you guys. Way back then, back in probably 2013, I was watching YouTube, trying to find tutorials on different stitches so I'd get the book and I would read through it, and if I got to a spot where I was stuck, I would go on YouTube and just look. What does this mean? What is this stitch? How are they doing that? And I just started kind of filling in the gaps. So that's basically it. I kind of use YouTube to help teach me. Do you have any other crafting hobbies? I think I answered that with, I do like to can. I used to love to cook. My mom and I used to bake a lot. We'd make candy, buckeye balls, and chocolate covered cherries, and almond joys. We made everything handmade. At one point my mom thought she wanted to sell candy, but she never did. We just did it for fun. What is my absolute favorite thing to make? Plushies, of course. That is my like go-to thing. I just really enjoy creating toys at this time. It's fun. What do I do when I lose my Crojo? You guys, I haven't lost it yet. Even when life was hard. 3 years ago, my daughter was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I haven't really talked about it a lot because I didn't know if she doesn't really like me talking about it a whole lot as far as the personal stuff behind it, but I did get her permission to bring it up in a video. If anything, just to bring awareness to Crohn's disease. It is a disease that affects your entire digestive system, and it's really hard to get a diagnosis. So she was very sick for a long time. Even her pediatrician thought that she had an eating disorder, which is crazy. I knew she didn't because she's my daughter. I told them that's not what this is. But we had to wait. You know, every time you make an appointment with a specialist at Children's Hospital, there's a big, huge wait. And she was so sick, like, all year. And then I think we were on spring break, and we got the call from the hospital that they wanted her to be seen because of an eating disorder. But we had to wait like 3 months to get this appointment. So we waited, and the whole summer she was so sick. It was terrible. And we go in, and this doctor, who was a girl's doctor, talking to her about eating and her stomach, and she decided that she would do a poop test. And that is what saved my daughter's life. That doctor, who didn't even specialize in gut health, saved her life. Because when they did that test, she said, we're going to take this test, but go ahead and call the GI department and make an appointment. You probably won't get in there for several months because they're backed up. But go ahead and get your appointment. So I think that was like midweek when we went to this appointment. We had the sample done by Friday. On Monday, we got a call from the hospital. They wanted to see us right away. And quickly after that, we got a diagnosis. But she missed 180 days her sophomore year. Her junior year, she stayed home. Actually, the end of her sophomore year this summer, she had a surgery which saved her. In her junior year, though, she still had some complications with her skin and stuff, so she stayed home. Well, her senior year, she got to go back to school, so she graduated with her class and walked, and it was very special to us. But the whole point in telling that story is, number one, I'm so thankful that we were able to get this diagnosis for her and save her life, because she probably wouldn't have made it otherwise. She was really sick. But two, during that time, my mama heart was broken. And I did lose my Crojo as far as the business goes. I was not interested in making hats. I was a mess, you guys. I was beside myself. I didn't know what to do. I don't suffer from any sort of mental illness, but I'm pretty sure at that time I was suffering. It did kind of give me anxiety a little bit because I was always so worried about things for her. And during that time, while she was very sick, I started making amigurumi again. Because I was like, I want to crochet because it made me feel better, but I didn't want to make hats. I had no desire. So I bought a book, the Peek-a-Pow book. I think it was this book. And I made this bunny. And then I just spent months making animals. And I think I made a blanket during that time. But I didn't care about the business back then. And my husband even said, you know, she's our priority and don't worry about your business, don't worry about it. So, because we were back and forth to the doctors all the time, and I was making her special meals all the time, and it was hard. I am so thankful that she is well. She's in remission, you guys. She still takes medication. And Crohn's is an autoimmune disease, so her immune system is compromised. So she has to be really careful. She can't be around sick people. What's funny is she's going to be a nurse, you guys. She's going to school to study nursing because she appreciates them so much for what she has went through. And you hear that a lot from kids who've suffered. So I'm really proud of her. It hasn't been easy. So, gosh, I got way off, you guys. That was all about Crojo. When I lose my Crojo, I still crochet. I just crochet things that are fun. I crochet things from patterns. If I'm bored with anything, if I pull out a new pattern, that's all it takes for me. So if you're sick of making the same things, make something new. Do I find myself not crocheting hats in the future anymore? I will always make hats. I think in the future I will make more than just hats. I'll make more than just plushies. I want to make wearables or purses or anything. Like anything I can crochet, I want to learn all of it. It's just fun for me to learn new things. So when my husband gets home, I want him to answer, how did we meet? And what does my husband think about my business? So I will get back to you guys here in just a bit. So alright guys, it's been a few days since I talked to you last. It's been hard to get Sammy here in front of the camera because we've been busy, but I've been wanting you guys to meet him. This is my husband, Sam.
Hello.
And I wanted him to answer a few questions, so we'll start with, how did we meet?
I don't know, how did we meet? We like to say we met in paradise. Little hole-in-the-wall bar. Called it Paradise. New Year's Eve, 2004. Remember it very well. I was going to stay at home because I was supposed to have a date with my supermodel girlfriend at the time. She doesn't like to hear that part.
It gets old.
But I wanted to stay at home, have a nice quiet evening just by myself. I had 3 children with a previous marriage and they were with their mother at the time, so I was like, stay at home, chill. I have a twin brother that was at a bar, kept blowing my phone up. You gotta come out here, gotta come out here. There's a cool band out here playing. So I was like, yeah, what the heck. Go out there, and said I'd never meet somebody at a bar. Lo and behold, there was April, the barmaid. She was our barmaid for the night and just struck up conversation. And before we left that night, went back in, gave her my phone number. Then she blew my phone up the next day and just kept calling ever since. And I was like, oh, that's it. This is the one.
Well, the funny thing is I had never been a barmaid before. And I wasn't supposed to be there. I worked at a mortgage company, and a coworker owned this bar. And I was going through a divorce. I'd been going through it for like 3 months, and I was broke. And all of my friends were doing fun stuff on New Year's Eve that cost a lot of money, and I had $0. So she had asked me if I wanted to work, and I at first said no, because I never done that, and I didn't really care to. But then as it got closer to New Year's Eve, I was like, well, I don't want to sit at home, because then, I'm an extrovert, so being at home on New Year's Eve would just make me sad. So I decided, what the heck, put myself out there, and lo and behold, that's the night I met my husband. And literally the bar's name was Paradise, so we met in Paradise. It's kind of funny, so. But, we've had our ups and downs, but we're still here.
She's a keeper, I guess.
Okay. What was the other one? What do you think of my crochet business?
Keeps her out of my hair for long periods of time. It's awesome.
No, really, seriously.
It's a great source of extra income. Takes the burden off me some. You enjoy doing it, so it's a win-win.
Yeah.
It's paid for a lot of vacations, which is cool.
Helped buy a truck at one point. I don't know. It helps pay for extra things for us. And last year, my husband was off work for several months because he got a knee injury, and he had a knee injury, and was waiting on workers' comp to take care of everything, and for whatever reason it took forever, and we didn't get paid for what, like
about 4 months.
4 months, and workers' comp didn't pay very much when it finally came through.
I got my first paycheck from my work before I got a workers' comp check when I went back to work after the surgery.
Yeah, it was, so it's nice to have this to fall back on when we need it. So, but we're hoping it helps, you know, create more income in the future, but it has helped, absolutely. So if you guys are out there thinking about starting a small business, a crochet business, go for it. I mean, it does help, you know, and it's hard being a stay-at-home mom. So what do you think about me staying at home or working when we had all the kids at home?
You know, first stay-at-home mom is a full-time job in itself, so you got 2 jobs, in my opinion.
Yeah. Love him for that. It is hard to work and be a mom, but I mean, it's hard for other people to be with your kids too. But you know, we got to do what we got to do. So if you can stay at home, that's awesome. If you have to go work somewhere, I get it. So, all right, well, I think that's all for now, but I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A. If you guys have any further questions, just let me know. I really appreciate all of you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
See ya.